Yesterday, I put out a public warning on YouTube saying do not buy now. And that is because we got to wait for the retracements. I know so many people were feeling that FOMO cranked up to maximum euphoria. We could see it in the charts. The amount of longs that opened into resistance was pretty crazy. On top of just everybody on social media shouting, alt season, buy now, just get in. Once again, it's that scenario. So, bring it back to just a professional, no nonsense, no underlying bias, no shilling, just simply looking at the chart and finding the highest probability trade. I told you, wait for a retracement. Well, 24 hours later, we have seen that retracement. There have been long trades taken, and that includes from myself. I want to update you in this video today, some massive, amazing look at the order flow. If you are interested in learning order flow, or if you already have mastered it, today is just another amazing example of why I absolutely love order flow. So make sure you got your listening ears caps on in today's video, because we're going to be going on a deep dive into the charts and doing just what we love. That is, of course, making profits trading, but more importantly, just having a wonderful, happy time while doing it. So that is the game of trading. As we come back over to the charts here, and analyze what we're picking up from on yesterday's video. So of course, yesterday's video I made a pretty intense video saying, I'm waiting for the retracement. Do not get influenced by the alt season calls. A Bitcoin's going to go straight up. No, this doesn't happen. You get the retracements. You do not ever buy on the top of these moves to the upside. What do? You wait for the pullbacks. And we had a few key areas to be waiting for. One of them being this daily naked point of control there, $116,900. What was there? It was a daily naked point of control. What did I say you needed to wait for? It was the order flow. You needed to wait for the order flow to line up, and what we had here was the perfect example of that. But it just goes to show, this was posted at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. UK time yesterday. Hope you all listen carefully to this YouTube video. You didn't FOMO into the top. You got to wait for the retracement always. And some people actually following from the video prior to that, where I called the $120,000 resistance zone too. So, making profits on the shorts. And now today, you could have made some profits on the long. So let's analyze what's going on here. And specifically, let's come down to a 15-minute chart. Because what happened at this daily naked point of control that we were ready and waiting for, alert set, ready and waiting, still waiting for that retracement yesterday afternoon. There, bam, right on 9:30 p.m. UK time is where we finally got the tap into the level, right? We were going sideways, hovering above it. Nothing to do here. The only thing to do is remain patient for lower. Wait for that retracement. Do not FOMO in. This is the importance of having a plan. This is why I spend so much time doing my own plans and then sharing my plans, because it's the one and only way to make consistent profits. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself taking the most random rubbish trades, losing a bunch of trades, and thus losing a bunch of money. And that's not what we want. I want you to get to a level where you truly understand these charts like I do, like the back of my hand. Without even really thinking about it, I already know what's going to be happening. So that's a level of, one could say, expertise once you've been doing this as long as I've been doing it, right? So that's a level I want you to achieve, and you will achieve by following these videos, listening along, learning. And because, what we saw here, again, we were looking at the level, we wanted to see the order flow, and just take a look at this order flow. So I've already updated the champion members, but just this was the most perfect reaction possible to that $116.9 thousand naked point of control. What we saw here was the trap shorts, a wick into the level. So visually you've got a reaction off the level, but the order flow was what was perfect here. You had the trap shorts, and that is coming in the form of increase in volume. So just listen to this is how we analyze perfect order flow. So you look at the volume, the delta, of course the CVD here. You're also going to be looking very importantly at the open interest, and what we had here was a increase in volume. So the volume spiked, seeing an increase in volume. You saw the high negative delta. Look at this, minus 21 million. You saw the open interest increasing to show us the increase of new shorts opening, and a wick into the support level. Okay, so this is what I was calling the perfect order flow. That was our wick, and of course this is now a wonderful reaction, but at the time you had a wonderful wick into the level. So it was just, I really mean it, that this was the most perfect order flow. So when you kind of just, your eyes are lighting up, look at this, $117,000 psychological. Below that, that's where of this candle, you actually have the highest, this is the volume area of the candle. You can see on this, there is the candle open, there is the candle close, but the wick of the candle is where you have all of these new shorts opening. You see, there's just a massive amount of shorts opening here, overall giving us minus 18 million negative delta, but the vast majority of the shorts actually opening below $17,000, $117,000 of the wick of the candle. Like, if you've ever listened, if you've ever studied our course where we, of course, analyze and teach you everything necessary to do with all the templates, all of the order flow, all everything necessary we've got covered in our course. And if you've ever paid attention, which I really hope you have, you would just know this is like the textbook why we love order flow, right? If you don't have the order flow, you're trading super blind at this level. You're like, is this good enough? Is that not good enough? You see the order flow, and that is just like, that is perfection. The way that is just perfection. So anyway, you saw a massive amount of trapped shorts below the daily naked point of control. Again, the candle actually closing back above the level. At this point, you just have the most epic long trade possible, right? So you've got your entry, which is a very, very, very close entry. Stop loss is simply below the wick. We're talking about like a 0.1, 0.2% invalidation, because there's no need to, there's no need to hesitate. At this point in time, you've got truly the most perfect setup reaction possible. So at that point, there's nothing to do apart from enter your long trade like that. That is just wonderful on the order flow. I mean, you'd just have, well, personally, I just so much confidence in a bounce when I see that on the order flow. It really was special. So again, a tiny invalidation. Very, very, very small invalidation. Again, the target. A target, I will explain a few different levels where we can, of course, have a target and take profit levels. Again, target of this absolutely can be up to new all-time highs. Just think about it. New all-time highs, that trade give you a 40-to-1 risk to reward ratio. 40-to-1, because the invalidation is so small, and the only way you can get these small, tight, but high probabilities, like extremely high probability trade this was, because of the order flow, with such tiny invalidations, just the most perfect entry is off of the order flow, reading the order flow, understanding the order flow, and that reaction there was something special. It's actually main reason I wanted to do this video today, because it's just wonderful. It truly does make me very happy. But of course, this target can be all-time highs. There's nothing against having this as an all-time high target. But what do we want to do? We want to understand where is a nice take profit one. This is already over a 1% bounce to the upside, which in itself is a very nice trade. Over a 1% bounce, right? So what I would say is you got to have an understanding, and we want to see a few different levels of confluence here. If we were thinking, I want to lock in a take profit, want to see a few different things lining up here. What's the most obvious thing that we could look at first? Well, it's going to be that last support, understanding this support resistance flip. Well, here's our last support, right? Look at this, support, resistance. It's enough. That could be enough, but I'd like to see another factor lining up here. What's one of my favorite resistance levels? It'll be the anchored VWAP. So the anchored VWAP of this latest downtrend, the high of this latest downtrend, bam. Look how this lined up perfectly. You ever so slightly missed the anchored VWAP here. So what did price do? Didn't leave you hanging. It done the perfect. It came back up, cleared up those highs from the morning during London session. Of course, it's the weekend, but we're still trading. And, you've then hit into the downtrend anchored VWAP. So at this point, really, this is a very nice take profit one. And I will always say this is a wonderful trade, because you have to understand this, just the CME gap. Okay, so this is actually a wonderful pivot, and the timing behind this pivot was kind of amazing, because this pivot was put in just prior to the CME close, right? So you've hit that low during the CME, which is wonderful. And the reason why this is a nice take profit is because you have to understand, let's say we open up, well, even here, let's say price pauses now and Sunday we open up, we are going to have a bit of a CME gap to the downside, right? So it's just that understanding that locking in a take profit one on a long trade taken on a Friday evening, on a Saturday or a Sunday, like, if you take a long trade Friday evening, it's very nice, generally speaking, to lock in a take profit during the weekend, during that weekend rise, because of the fact you will open with the CME gap on the Sunday evening, which, as we all know, the CME gap does like to be filled. So it's what I would do is just get into that habit. If you trade weekends, and you get into nice long trades, it's generally good to take profits. And anyway, yeah, that for me personally is a take profit one. And it's not a small move. It's not something to this is a very, very good trade. Okay. And so it puts us in this position. Yes, we can absolutely look for all-time highs. But again, this tiny little invalidation that we had, tiny, tiny, tiny little invalidation that we had with even the target of this downtrend anchored VWAP that we have rejected from, that in itself still gave an 8-to-1 risk to reward ratio, right? Just wonderful risk to reward ratio. You see here, it's a very well thought through trade. You can see, you understand the planning that coming in on, this is the level that we're setting the alerts. This is the level we're waiting from. I think I even say in this exact section that you want to wait for the order flow. Shall we check? What I'm going to be going through in this video is we might not actually need to breach. You see here, I thought I did mention that you analyze the order flow at each of those levels, and and I mean it, my friends. Like I do these videos because I truly, and I think you can all tell by now, like I do this because I really want to help you. Like that is my sole motive of producing this content. I know that the more people that we reach, the more people that we can help, and I know that in this space there is just a high degree of scammers. And there's a high of people that just want to take advantage of you. And so, I try and be this guiding light. I like to have that sense of integrity, right? I can hold my head up high and be proud and say, I'm doing my best. I really want to help, and I'm doing it in a very, I can say I have full integrity. Not can be bought sort of thing, right? So with this, I just really want to emphasize that this is how you make it. This is how you make it. Like, I want you to be a good trader. So just listen to these words, please. Again, it's simple, but you need to just ingrain this into your brain. You make a plan. Again, when you make a plan, you can have a few different plans. You do not just plan for one level of support and you think, well, this is the one level I'm going to look, because then what happens if that level of support lost? You have to have a backup plan, just as you will also plan to understand where some areas to short are, right? So you make plan with it, then maybe an S at the end. So you make some plans. Then you remain patient. You do not get that FOMO. You do not go longing at the highs of the moves. Of course, you actually can look to short the highs of the moves. You wait for the retracement always, 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 always. So make the plan, and then you remain patient, and then you monitor the order flow. And this is integral, right? You monitor the order flow. And when you see this, madre mia, this is just such perfection. And me as a trader that, of course, has a heavy reliance on order flow, this is really, really nice to see. And this is not a one-off. You regularly get these reactions on the order flow. And this is for me the key, because you see this type of reaction, you enter that trade every single time. If you come down to this level and you get really bad reactions and you do not see anything in the order flow that tells you it's a long trigger, you sit back, you wait, you do not take the long. And this is why it's so lovely to have those alerts set. You can see you set the alert, that little triangle there is an alert set. You set your alert and you wait. You see the reaction visually, you check the order flow, and that's where you make the informed decision. Right? If this order flow had sucked, if this order flow just wasn't this, if we just saw decrease of open interest, no volume increasing, right? There's nothing in the in the delta, there's nothing in terms of the red candles. This is actually our new templates that I've built here over on Atis, because I am now moving to Atis fully, and it's just like this understanding of when you know what when you know what you're looking at with your trade counts, and just all of the data coming together as I've talked you through in this video. Like that's what it's called, making an informed decision, right? You see the open interest, you see the delta, you see the spike in volume. And I mean, you can see for yourself here, look, 18 million, 7 million, 8 million. Just look at this. That's a massive spike, right? 39 million. Look, and this is the highest delta that we've seen during the whole downtrend. It just was wonderful. It was just absolutely wonderful. Anyway, then of course, you understand that this is a wonderful trade, but you see as well, we're not getting ahead of ourselves. I'm not saying, oh, I'm never going to take profits, because a lot of people, they get a really good trade, and then they're like, oh, I'm not going to take profits on this trade now. It's got to go to all-time highs, right? Or it's got to get this massive bounce. Well, this is a massive bounce in it, I really do think. But nevertheless, like, we're not getting carried away. You see, we're treating it like a business. We've got a very professional outlook of the market. Okay, wonderful. We've got our trades. Well, now where are we looking for the take profit one? Where is our confluence for that take profit one? Undeniably, this was a really, really nice confluence. Anchored VWAP is always a nice confluence to take profit, but when you got the support resistance flip on top of it, local Fibonacci's from highs to lows, like this is the way that you kind of lining things up, right? Just look at that. We're coming right into the CC from your last high to low pivot, right into the CC Fibonacci. So this is into your 618 here, into the downtrend anchored VWAP, into your support resistance. Just really is wonderful. And essentially, what you got now is a mini range to trade, right? So you have your mini range high, mini range low. Okay, if we can find some strength to break out of this mini range low, amazing. We can get that increase in price, right? Alternatively, we do not, and we come back down to the mini range low. This is my style of trading. This is the way that I will always be trading because it just simply is the style of trading that works. Again, I do not claim to know, well, this is definitely happening next, right? I am humble enough to say we do not know what's happening next. Nobody knows what's happening next, okay? Every outcome of a trade is at the end of the day a random probability. So even with a win rate, and I mean it, the win rate on this type of setup is over 90%. I have a very, very, very high win rate when I've got this type of order. Very high win rate. But nevertheless, I know it's not 100% win rate. I know it's not 100% outcome of that trade. Thus, I use my risk management. I'm locking in my take profits. I'm protecting myself for if this trade, gets invalidated and the stop loss is hit. The most important thing is I have made profit on that long, even if we are to see a drop next. So when you kind of humble yourself to the market like this, when you truly understand how trading works, well, it becomes a lot easier, let me tell you that. Yeah. So it's my weekend update. I hope that you've enjoyed. If you want to see more from me, then you know where to get it, chartchampions.com. If you want to learn about order flow, trust me, you really want to. If you want to learn not just order flow, but learn from the best at teaching order flow, the OGs, the originals, then you can get that at Chart Champions. On top of that, of course, you've got the trading community talking you through the charts. You've got a whole massive community in here. And live trading, live exam, everything that you need, right? Chartchampions.com. I hope you've enjoyed. I truly hope that you have learned something. And I will catch you next week for a new video. I will say my next live stream will be on Monday for the champions, and that is the champions live stream. Higher term time frame look at cryptocurrency, where I will be going through higher term time frame plans, swing trades, Elliott wave counts. I know everybody loves the Elliott wave counts that I do. Of course, if you want dedicated altcoin streams, we got dedicated altcoin streams. If you want meetups in person, you can see we got everything. New lessons. This was a new lesson released last week. Everything that you need. Chart Champions. Thank you ever so much. Hope you've enjoyed, and looking forward to see you all in person again. That's going to be amazing. Cheers, everybody. Thank you. That's me signing out, and goodbye.